Okay, the topic for this video is setting the end behavior for your thermal analysis module. The end behavior is what your module is going to do at the end of the run. To set the default end behavior, you go to Edit, Experiment Buffer Defaults, and you see the end behavior is one of the categories you can choose from, and you have three choices. You have the insert temperature, standby temperature, or power save. Again, this determines what your instrument will do at the end of an experiment. If set to insert temperature, it means at the end of each experiment, it will return to the temperature where the sample was inserted. It'll use heating and cooling to maintain that insert temperature. The insert temperature would normally be the higher of either the standby temperature defined for the module, which is normally 25 degrees, or the start temperature of the measurement. If you choose standby for the end behavior, it will go specifically to the standby temperature for your instrument. Normally that's 25 degrees, but it can be something different if you defined it differently in your module configuration. Then if you choose power save, the module will automatically power off the furnace and power off the cooling device at the end of each measurement. So the default is normally it returns to insert temperature. It assumes you're generally running the same methods. And so at the end of each measurement, it will go back to the insert temperature to prepare for the next measurement. But you can change that however you want. To change the defaults, you just go to this menu, select it the way you like, and then you hit OK, and then Settings and Save Settings. So again, to repeat that, to set the defaults, you go to Edit, Experiment Buffer Defaults, choose the end behavior you like, press OK, Settings, and then Save Settings. If you want to change it for just one individual measurement, you can look at your list of pending experiments. You can right-click on any pending experiment and choose Edit Experiment, and then you see your options for end behavior. Right now, this particular experiment, if you see in the top of the list, the EB column is for end behavior. In this case, it's set to IT for insert temperature. But if for this particular experiment, I wanted to change it to go to power save at the end of the run, I just hit power save and OK. And now under the EB column, it says PS for power save, which means at the end of just this one experiment, it will shut off the heater and the cooling device. This is useful if, for instance, you're going to run a series of 10 experiments overnight, and maybe for the first 9 experiments you want it to just keep the heater and cooler on and go to insert temperature in between each run, and then on the last experiment maybe you want it to turn off the heater and the cooling device. So you could send your 10 experiments, leave the default to insert temperature for all of them except the last one, and then you could right click on the last experiment in your queue, choose Edit Experiment, choose your end behavior for that one experiment only to go to power save, hit OK. In this case, since you're just changing it for one experiment, you're not changing it for the defaults, you do not need to save the settings. But that would allow the early experiments in the queue to continue running with the cooling device and the heater on in between experiments. And then on the final experiment, it would shut off your cooling device and your heater to just conserve electricity, basically, or to conserve liquid nitrogen if you have a liquid nitrogen tank. Otherwise, if it were left at insert temperature or standby overnight, it would continue to use liquid nitrogen, or it would keep your cooler on, trying to maintain the insert temperature or the standby temperature. But if you go to power save, it'll turn those off on that last experiment. Okay, that's all for now.